All right, so let's talk about something that's really catching fire in Chicago right now. Caleb Williams and this absolutely wild projection floating around. We're not just talking about a good year or even a breakout season, no, we're talking about something on the edge of legendary. Something that could shake the entire foundation of Bears history. And yeah, that's not an exaggeration. This comes from Jeffrey Chataha from NFL.com, and look, I respect bold takes, we need them, but this one might be pushing the envelope even for the biggest Caleb believers out there, and I'm one of them. So here's what Chataha said. He's projecting that Caleb Williams, in his second year in the NFL, is going to throw for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns. Let that sink in for a second. That's not just a great season, that's MVP-level production. That's the kind of stat line that gets your name thrown in with the elite of the elite, and maybe even lands you a flight to Vegas in February as an MVP finalist. Now, I love the optimism, I love the hype, but let's take a breath and really look at this, because look, let's be honest, the Bears haven't exactly been known for elite quarterback play. In fact, just saying elite quarterback and Chicago Bears in the same sentence feels like an oxymoron. You go back through decades of this franchise and the bar is hilariously low. We're not just talking about no MVPs, we're talking about no one even sniffing for 1,000 yards. Ever in the entire history of the franchise, not a single quarterback has broken that mark. The closest we've come, Eric Kramer in the mid-90s with 3,901 yards. Jay Cutler never got there. Mitch Trubisky, please. It's been a graveyard for quarterbacks. So now the idea that Caleb Williams is going to not only break that 4,000-yard barrier, but completely shatter it and tack on 35 touchdowns. That's a tall order. It's exciting, sure, but it's also a massive leap. Let's talk about what that would actually mean. If he hits those numbers, he's not just the best Bears quarterback in history. He's immediately one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the entire league for the season. That's the kind of production that demands national attention, headlines every week, and yeah, it absolutely puts you in the MVP race. But here's the thing, we can't just jump from where he was last year to those kinds of expectations. Overnight, last season, Caleb threw for 3,541 yards and 20 touchdowns. Respectable numbers, solid for a rookie, especially considering all the chaos he was dealing with, new system, shaky offensive line, growing pains, all of that. But what Chataha is talking about would require a 75% jump in touchdowns and nearly a 30% increase in passing yards. That's not just a step forward, that's a quantum leap. Now, let's dig a little deeper here. 4,500 yards isn't just a fantasy football number. It's a mark that only a handful of guys hit last season. Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Baker Mayfield were among the few who got close or over that mark, and that was it. We're not talking about something that happens every week. In fact, last season was an anomaly. Fewer quarterbacks hit that 4,000 mark than in any other year. Since the 17-game schedule began, only 6 guys got there. And that includes some outlier performances. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson, all had big years, but even they didn't eclipse 4,500. And as for the touchdowns, it's even harder. Only 5 quarterbacks managed to throw for 30 or more touchdowns last year. And they all had to hit 35 or above to do it. That's a different level of difficulty because touchdowns are unpredictable. You can move the ball all day long and still not find the end zone. Defenses tighten up in the red zone. Coaches get conservative. Sometimes it's just game flow. Maybe you get on the goal line and hand it off 3 straight times. Touchdowns aren't guaranteed, even in great offenses. So while yards can come in bunches, especially in today's league where everything is geared toward passing, touchdowns are trickier. There's more randomness, more variance. And it's not just about numbers. For Caleb to even sniff those kinds of stats, everything around him has to be clicking. The offensive line needs to hold up. The wide receivers have to stay healthy. The play calling needs to be aggressive. And most importantly, Caleb himself has to grow a lot. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's a stretch. Especially in year 2, most quarterbacks take that real leap in year 3. That's when the game starts to slow down. That's when the instincts sharpen and the chemistry with the offense clicks on another level. Even Patrick Mahomes has said he didn't truly understand NFL defenses until his 3rd season. And that's Mahomes we're talking about, a generational talent. So yeah, I think it's okay to pump the brakes just a little here. Let's talk about what a realistic leap looks like. Let's talk about what kind of jump would actually represent serious progress for Caleb without jumping straight into MVP hype. If he can bump that completion percentage by 3 points, tack on 500 more passing yards to get to an even 4,000 and push the touchdowns up to 25, that would be a huge win. That would be undeniable growth. That would signal that he's on track to become a star, maybe not today, but very soon. And here's the wild part, 4,000 passing yards shouldn't even be this big of a deal in today's NFL. The fact that the Bears have never had a quarterback reach that number is an indictment of the entire organization. It's embarrassing. Other teams have backups who have stumbled into 4,000 yards during meaningless seasons. The Bears, not once. So yeah, 4,000 should be the bare minimum for what we expect from a franchise quarterback going forward. But let's not mistake that for thinking 4,535 touchdowns is the natural next step. That's not a natural next step. That's a rocket ship leap. That's skipping steps on the staircase. That's going from a jog to a full-on sprint without stretching first. We need to let Caleb grow. Let him build something, and maybe, just maybe, by year 3 or 4, we start having that MVP conversation for real. Until then, let's set the bar high but realistic. Let's see him get rid of that outdated Bears record. Let's see him push into 4,000-yard territory. Let's see him make smart throws, take more chances downfield, and yeah, maybe throw a few more interceptions because he's testing defenders. That's part of the process. You want a quarterback who's aggressive. You want someone who's learning to manipulate defenses and take shots when they're there. So, am I buying the Chataha projection completely? No, not yet. But I'm also not dismissing it entirely. Because the talent is absolutely there. The tools are real. The arm, the creativity, the mobility, it's all there. What Caleb needs now is time. Time to develop. Time to adapt. Time to own the offense. And if everything breaks right, the playmakers stay healthy, the offensive line gels, and the coaching staff empowers him, then who knows? Maybe we do see something special sooner than expected. But for now, let's just hit the first big milestone. Let's get to 4,000 yards. Let's make Bears history. Then we can talk about the next mountain to climb. Because once you reach that peak, the next one doesn't look quite as far away. And if Caleb Williams is truly the guy, and I believe he is, then this is only the beginning. Now, let's not overlook what last season actually represented. For Caleb, sure, the numbers weren't jaw-dropping, but they weren't empty either. 3,541 yards and 20 touchdowns in your rookie year. With all the pressure that comes from being a number 1 overall pick, and the weight of a franchise desperate for quarterback stability. That's a solid base. The expectations were massive, maybe even unfairly high. Considering the circumstances, new coaching staff, inconsistent protection, limited weapons, and a franchise that's been allergic to offensive consistency for decades. But the good news is, most of those issues look a lot better heading into this season. The offensive line has been upgraded. The coaching staff seems more aligned with building an offense around Caleb's strengths, and the weapons much improved. He's got guys now who can get separation, make contested catches, and turn short passes into explosive plays. That's the kind of environment where a second-year quarterback can thrive. And let's be real, if Caleb can just clean up a few things, improve his timing, hit those layups that he occasionally missed, and continue to build chemistry with his receivers, then the jump doesn't have to be monstrous to be meaningful. Even a modest increase, say, to 4,000 yards and 25 to 28 touchdowns, would be a strong step in the right direction. That kind of progression shows command, it shows development. And more importantly, it gives the Bears something they've lacked for years, hope and a real plan under center. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL offseason is heating up, and if the latest whispers around the league are to be believed, the Chicago Bears might be cooking up one of the boldest moves in recent memory. Rumors are swirling that star linebacker T.J. Watt could be on his way to the Windy City in a high-profile trade deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. While no official confirmation has been made by either franchise, sources close to the situation suggest preliminary discussions have taken place. The potential move has sent shockwaves through both fan bases. For the Bears, adding Watt would be nothing short of transformative after an offseason focused on revamping the offense. particularly with the arrival of Caleb Williams and wideout Rome Odunze. This would be a statement of intent on the defensive side. Watt, a former Defensive Player of the Year and perennial Pro Bowler, would instantly elevate a defense already showing signs of resurgence. Insiders speculate that Chicago is willing to part with future draft capital and possibly a starting caliber player to secure Watt's services. It's a bold proposition, but one that aligns with GM Ryan Poles' recent win-now mindset. Watt, still in his prime, could be the missing piece to turn the Bears into serious playoff contenders in the NFC North. On the Steelers' side, the motivation behind such a move is less clear. Watt has been the heart and soul of Pittsburgh's defense for years. However, whispers suggest a desire to reset their roster and create cap flexibility for the future. Trading Watt would be shocking, but not unthinkable if the return is compelling enough. Whether this trade materializes or not, the buzz around TJ Watt to Chicago is real. For now, it's all speculation, but as we've seen time and again, in the NFL, where there's smoke, there's often fire. Stay tuned. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.